Hey all my fellow and soon-to-be maniacs out there, Guess is back with some more unordinary content, and this will be technically my first versus battle on this channel, John vs Seraphina. And if they were actually in a fair one-on-one scenario between one another, and by fair I mean no nerfing by means of certain injections, power dampening machines, or even complete mental breakdowns. Just a simple one-on-one, John and Seraphina at the peaks of their powers within the series so far. And at this point I've read through Unordinary at least over 3 times, so to ease some of my suffering, please like this video, subscribe, and ring that notification bell if you want to see more videos like this. Also comment below the next webtoon series you would want me to tackle in terms of power scaling or versus battles. You never know, you might just end up with a cross-fiction versus battle in the future. So before we put these two up against each other in the battle to the death, I would like to add to the previous video I did based on power scaling John to see just how strong John is, because thanks to the homie Sebek, I'm not gonna actually say his full name because I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'll put it up on screen so you guys can check it out. And my homie did some brilliant calculation works when calculating Remy's lightning ability in terms of the attack potency. Using these calculations, it puts her at city block level, which is much higher than I thought she'd be at. But this means that the higher tiers can range from building level all the way up to large city block levels of power. Obviously, it varies depending on how exactly the stats are distributed in terms of their powers as well. Now that that's dealt with, let's get straight into the meat and potatoes of this video. When looking into this fight, it seems that the win and lose conditions depends on whether or not John could actually copy Seraphina's ability. Because obviously, if he can, the battle is immediately over since John can amp abilities and would just have the more powerful ability. At the moment, it's not really definitive, but might be possible just because the way John's ability works. It revolves around order, which all ability users use to activate their powers. Now, when John is around the active ability user, he samples their order and manipulates his own order to match his opponent's. As it's stated in the series by Claire, the simpler the ability, the easier it is for him to use. Anything complex or high level will take him longer to learn. We actually see this in the series as well, right after Claire mentions this. Back when John was at his old school New Boston, he fights Zeren, who is at a level of 3.7 and John was at a 3 before gaining his new ability amp. So we can see in this battle that they are evenly matched as they both have a decent amount of damage on them. Then as soon as John amps his ability, he just destroys Zeren. So if the ability level is higher or if the ability is complex, it adds to the time John needs to sample the order to manipulate and amp his ability. Not only is Seraphina at a much higher level, but her ability is multifaceted, and I would argue it's one of the most complex abilities in the series. On top of that, John needs to learn more about the ability, and I don't know if he'll have much time during the course of the battle itself. That's just given the fact that he hasn't learned beforehand about time manipulation abilities. As we saw in the Battle of Zeren, Zeren's ability is obviously on a higher level than John's, so it added to the time needed for John to figure it out and basically amp his ability. Trying to copy Seraphina's ability at the moment would leave John at a disadvantage, and especially wide open for attack, and one attack might be all Seraphina needs, as we've stated before, using the calculations provided and due to the fact that she could shatter John's shield while she was nerfed and going blind. If Sera was at her full strength, she would be even more stronger than this. Not to mention that she can rewind her injuries, and some people think that John can just wear her out and outlast her, which I don't think that can actually happen. When Seraphina was ambushed and injured with the ability removing drug, normally you just fall over after being injected with the drug. But when Seraphina was injected, not only was her ability level cut in half by the power dampener, but she was stabbed and fought off everyone who attacked her, then sprinted all the way home and still had the decency to close the door behind her as she got into John's house. Now, John had a similar experience in the forest when battling alongside Blake and Ishin. But all this demonstrates is that in terms of endurance, they're more or less able to endure the same amount in terms of using their abilities. So both of them won't be tiring out that easily. Now, I'm going to be straight with you. 9 times out of 10, Seraphina wins this fight almost with 0 difficulty most of the time. But there is one outcome where I can see John actually winning this fight. If John rocks up with Arlo's ability, Remy's ability, and Elaine's ability, he would be able to withstand Seraphina's initial attacks. This should give him more than enough time to sample all the aura he needs from Seraphina. All he needs is enough aura samples to copy the ability and doesn't even have to amp the ability because he already has Remy's ability. John's time manipulation would just cancel Seraphina's abilities out, and having Remy's abilities on deck as well, he should be faster and stronger enough to dish out some massive damage on Seraphina. Also in the series, Seraphina stated that because she was faster than her mother, who also has time manipulation abilities, she stated that she was just faster than her mother, and that's how she overpowered her time manipulation ability. Obviously this can just be a kind of snarky remark, but you can take it however you would like. So as John deals massive amounts of damage on Seraphina, he can continually pack on the damage, not giving Seraphina a chance to recover and just fry her ass to death. This is obviously when using Remy's ability, which is just a continuous stream of lightning, and because she can't obviously counteract John's time manipulation ability, which means he can't stop time, which means John just cancels her time manipulation out because he kind of is on the same level if he learns to copy her ability during the fight. But with this scenario being put forward with John, in terms of his winning conditions, you would have to kind of plug your controller into John and then kind of just manipulate him to do these certain actions, because on his own, I don't think you would be able to think of this. Not saying he's dumb, but it just seems like a very unlikely scenario. That's the only scenario I can see John most likely like winning. Obviously, if he rocks up with no ability and just decides to copy Seraphina's ability, or he rocks up with one ability, whether it's Arlo's, Remy's, whoever, even Zeke's. Like, if he rocks up with any one of those abilities, he needs multiple abilities, because if he only has one, he's not going to be able to outlast the beating that Seraphina will be able to give him. And because she can kind of just punch out a bunch of damage in like 1 second, you know, it's gonna be quite hard for him to kind of counter or hit back and stuff like that, you know. Before he knows it, he'll be just knocked unconscious. So like, it's pretty difficult to argue in John's favor for any of this in terms of the battle right here, unless John in the future gets an amp in terms of his ability level or his ability itself. Let's say he gets an amp to where he can basically pull abilities out of thin air just by thinking of them. If he gets something like that, then Seraphina is not beating him. In the current state, I think Seraphina wins most of the time. And just to kind of add to this idea of how strong Seraphina is, various characters in the series have constantly said that she is godlike. They literally say she is godlike. John himself admits that she is godlike. Like, he doesn't compare himself to her. Everybody basically says that Seraphina, like, they don't even put her up against people because she's that strong. It's just like everybody by default believes that she can just beat anyone because she's just that strong. However, there is one statement which is very interesting, which one of the teachers mentioned. The teachers are kind of like disputing, and they're saying, because this is the time when John first kind of, you know, reveals his hand and he attacks Arlo and destroys his shield. And the teachers obviously know that John is kind of hiding that he has powers. So when Arlo gets damaged, the teachers are basically say that only John could damage him that way, which is a very interesting thing to think about. But maybe they're not taking Seraphina into consideration here, because they think like, why would Seraphina actually fight Arlo? But then again, she does actually pull a punch on Arlo in like the turf war. So I don't know, you can take that how you would want. And this is the thing about the series, it's very speculatory in most cases. Like, you kind of have to read between the lines and kind of figure things out here. So yeah, this has been very interesting. You know, maybe my thoughts on this might change in the future if I actually read Unordinary again for a 4th time. But yeah, scouring through the entire series, kind of like breaking down every statement almost, you know. It's just like, but I'll keep my eye on the series just to see if there's any other changes to the outcome of this fight. But right now, Seraphina takes it, 0 difficulty. So let me know in the comment section what you guys think about this fight. Do you think Sera takes it? Do you think John takes it? And comment down below your thoughts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. Bye bye, everyone.